Letitia James, the age,
Tish.
yeah, Attorney General Letitia James heckled over mortgage fraud case at town hall. Apologized to Donald Trump, somebody said. So the New York State Attorney General Letitia James was heckled by a President Trump supporter at a community hearing where she claimed the freshly opened federal criminal probe into her alleged mortgage fraud is baseless. James was interrupted at a community impact hearing in Westchester on Thursday night, just hours after the Trump administration opened a formal criminal probe into James over alleged mortgage fraud involving her Brooklyn and Virginia properties. Apologized to Donald Trump for wasting millions of dollars in the state of New York, a MAGA booster shouted from the audience. And we don't know if they always say, I gotta say MAGA because you voted for Trump or support Trump. The interruption was met with a chorus of boos from the New York crowd as the demonstrator was escorted from the meeting.
Oh, she can't handle it, but she encouraged this when she had the limelight trying to run her lawfare. You know, one of the allegations I found interesting, it requires a married couple to make application for the mortgage that they had on she had on one of the properties. So she and her father were in this. So she lists her father as her husband. And several of these properties she acquires. She claims she is the the resident, and she lives in these properties, but she can't because she wouldn't be qualified to be the attorney general.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's like, this is just typical. Look at Fani, and we're finding, Fani Willis. We're finding that, in fact, what's going on with that is it looks like allegedly she and Wade were engaged in embezzlement of public funds. Nobody had to approve her approval of his claims, and so far he got $720,000, which is probably why we got all those transactions, so she could split it. And if she hadn't acted a fool and gotten up and forgotten about her Fifth Amendment rights and testified, they probably could have split between $6 and $8 million. And now there is at least 10 million unaccounted for. We know, we've looked into it. That's 7.5 million to catch up on general prosecution that seems to have disappeared, that the state appropriated to her control. There's 2 million that goes along with catching up on sex crimes prosecutions, and there's 500,000 specially earmarked for juvenile prosecutions, and that total of 10 million has disappeared. So where did it all go to?
So you have Letitia James for her mortgage fraud, of course, Fani Willis and all that drama, embezzlement, and then Stacey Abrams with the $2 billion. So she's on the investigation by the state of Georgia, but I'm pretty sure that is a congressional hearing that's probing her as well. So the latest update on Fani Willis is basically from 3 weeks ago. It says congressional investigators are now targeting Fani Willis staff and probe for politically motivated Trump prosecution. And it's another one. House Judiciary Committee presses Fulton's DA office for records, warrants of action. So, and that's federal. And then the state, that was a month ago when they sent another subpoena saying this is the last and final warning, and even a judge said it, that they want her to testify. But it's supposed to happen this month in May.
She's supposed to have exercised the Fifth Amendment way back when. Now it's not a matter of Fifth Amendment. They are entitled to this because it is the state of Georgia having appropriated money to the county of Fulton in the state of Georgia, and she's not particularly personally liable unless something comes up funny. So it's really peculiar. A state constitutional official,
right,
says, I'm not going to supply you the records you're entitled to because doing so might incriminate me. Well, you need to guess what the remedy for that is. You resign your position. you defend yourself and let somebody come in who is not going to compromise the public interest.
Right.
That's how
And the
you
judge,
handle that.
she lost 2 lawsuits for under Open Records Act. So there's nowhere else to hide. But everybody in Georgia is now quiet on the Fani Willis saga. Now, real quick, going back to Letitia James, it says the government alleges that James falsified records to meet certain lending requirements to receive favorable loan terms. The feds claim James misrepresented the number of units in her Brooklyn home and falsely stated that her home in Norfolk, Virginia was her principal residence. The alleged infractions could amount to criminal charges involving wire fraud, mail fraud, bank fraud, and making false statements to a financial institution. And people don't understand that when you lie on these applications, you can now have all these other criminal charges as in wire, mail, bank fraud.
Look here. I had a situation where I had quite a few properties around the country, and a certain bank had been forced to acquire some of the mortgage portfolio that got caught up in that thing a couple of decades ago with George Soros and all of that, who bought off Kamala Harris to get out of a mess in California. Now, what went on is they offered me, get this, less than 0.5% fixed rate mortgage on consolidation of all of the property mortgages I had. I said, oh, sure. So I filled out the paperwork. One of the questions was, are you now or have you been in the last 5 years subject to the civil suit? As far as I knew, no. Well, I get the FBI showing up wanting to know why I committed fraud. I said, what the hell are you talking about? It turned out the studio had intercepted quite a few summonses issued against the Judge Joe Brown show, and they didn't want me raising hell with them, so they didn't tell me, and they had some bozo law firm going down there standing in to represent me, and I've never heard of them, never talked to them, never signed a retainer, and the fools were sitting there in their ignorance conceding in this action in front of a California court of record that myself and the show were doing something under artistic license, which the state Supreme Court in a written decision back in 2000 said would get all of us put in jail. See, I said, how dare you? And I had to send them a copy of this doggone thing. It's a 23-page written opinion in the California Supreme Court officially declared me an appropriate arbitrator under California law and made everything I did real and enforceable. I even had contempt powers. So they said I was in final charge of the product and nothing could go on or be released if I didn't approve of it, which Hollywood hated, but I was the only one of the judge shows that had that going. So they sat there and they violated everything in that order in their effort to conceal from me that they were representing me. So I reached an agreement, and it was just absolutely atrocious. They ought to have all gone to jail or been disbarred. But see, there you go. I was innocent of the whole thing. They just backed off and said, we find you didn't have anything to do with this. But here's this woman doing this right now after she indicted a former or charged a former president of the United States of America with civil liability for this crap. And then had the judgment to come up and say, look, we find that it is totally illegal where he values Mar-a-Lago at 13 million. Hell, you can't even buy a lot around the place for less than $1 million. And you know, I find it strange that the state of Georgia, what is it? They evaluated that at 96 some million dollars, but she wants to say it's 13 and she's in the business of doing real estate evaluation. Oh, wow. That makes what she did even worse, doesn't it?
I want to play this clip.
Seat and stand idly. And you want me to sit in my seat and stand idly by and allow this craziness to happen? You could come after me if you want, but But you elected me to stand up. You elected me to use the law. You elected me to go to court. You elected me to continue to challenge this administration. You elected me to stand up for the least of God's children. You elected me to continue fighting on. And I will fight on. And you—
Wait a minute. Oh, can we pause a second? What is New York doing electing a local yokel district attorney to go after the president of the United States?
Well, New York State taxpayers may also be on the hook to pay her legal fees from this federal investigation.
And by the way, that's totally illegal. They are not alleging that the state of New York is involved. This is her personally, and ethically, she ought to be responsible for maintaining the expense of her own legal defense.
Because Mayor Eric Adams, I think he's responsible for his own legal defense.
Yes. See, she's a hypocrite. Nobody hired her to do this. She's only supposed to enforce New York law, not interpose her little sick judgment on the rest of the United States of America about who ought to be president. That's totally illegal. Well, it's unethical, let me put it this way. And she's saying this on the front end to get elected. So she goes in there predisposed. And see, the prosecuting office is not just there to put people in jail. It's to ensure justice. And there may be an occasion when the district attorney, the attorney general, the prosecuting authority, etc., looks at it, they may say, wait a minute, there is somebody that needs protection. That may be the nominal defendant, and say, in the interest of justice, we not only don't need to bring charges, we need to deal with somebody else being charged. And see, she goes into this without being neutral and detached and objective, but with a specific motive here, which is to get rid of Trump. She didn't succeed. So now we have a Justice Department that is level. It's not trying to engage in lawfare. And it is going after what a whole lot of people who've been practicing law for a long time have said is an egregious violation of the law that has been overlooked and tolerated by the last administration's prosecutorial officials. And something needs to be done about it. So good riddance. I love it when some crook gets caught up.
Well,
Alleged crook.
Alleged crook, yeah. I don't know if you've seen this in the news, but apparently they have put up a 20-foot tall statue in Times Square of a Black woman. Have you seen this?
Yeah, it's all over the world. They've been doing this.
Yeah, I've seen one in Italy. In one, it was gold in Italy.
Real person that it's modeled on, the statue adds about 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 pounds to the person. What's that?
I don't like it. I don't like it.
What are they doing?
I don't like it because why are you doing it? What is this supposed to represent? It doesn't represent me. What is this saying? I'm a strong Black woman. I'm the future. I'm a young, strong Black woman.
I guess you're supposed to be somebody that's being held up as the new model Negro or something.
And I have a problem with that because if it's supposed to represent Black Americans, then you need to have a young Black boy or a Black family. For if we have any hope to preserve our race, our group of people. The artist is a Black man. He's using the word African American, but I don't know if he's an immigrant. I got to do a little bit more background on him. However, what is this supposed to signify? And why are you giving us another statue? See, I'm tired of this.
They're all over the world. What is this? What are they trying to do? I mean, it's like you take somebody that's accomplished something, yeah, I can see a statue of that, whatever they look like. But why are you picking this kind of imagery to put up?
Exactly. It's bad enough they had the George Floyd, and then they had this ugly statue that was supposed to be the hands of MLK and his wife Coretta Scott King, and they put that up in Boston. But I don't care about any statues that you are putting up or even taking down. I care about public policies.
Yeah. Like, what are we supposed to get all happy because of image? Or what are they doing?
Exactly.
See, you know what? This is a trend, and I think if it's a black artist, he's getting on board with it. Look at the swimsuit models for Sports Illustrated. What's become of them? Sports Illustrated for decades has represented the apex of masculine physical fitness. These guys are the fittest of the fit. They run track, play football, baseball, basketball. They do lacrosse, they ride horses, all kinds of things. They are fit athletes. So when they first started the swimsuit thing, they put in the female counterpart of physical fitness. Now they have some fat slobs in there that couldn't even run from the front door to the street. So why do you put a fat slob female in when you've got a hyper fit male in there? What are you trying to do?
Right. I guess it's supposed to be inclusive because everybody's not slim.
Well, why don't you get the guy who spends so much time in front of the television watching this never-ending flood of sports, the couch potato who's way overweight, and put him in Sports Illustrated too? Sounds like sex discrimination to me.
I don't think I want to go that far, but
I know, but I'm just saying it's preposterous. But I mean, that would be
right.
reciprocity on the thing.